I found my path to success through hard work, becoming a senior software engineer at 35. Despite my financial stability, family always came first, especially our annual vacations that became a cherished tradition over the past 8 years. I paid for most expenses, secretly wanting to give back to my parents and siblings. But during our recent Hawaii trip, I overheard something that shattered my heart. My brother called me the family cash cow, while everyone laughed about how I would not mind funding their next exotic vacation. Where are you watching from today? Hit like and subscribe if your generosity has ever been taken for granted by the people you love most, and stick around to see how I finally stood up for myself. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Michigan family meant everything to us Grants. My parents, Frank and Diana, constantly reminded me and my 3 siblings that blood bonds were sacred. We were not wealthy, but we had enough. My father worked as a high school history teacher, while my mother managed a small local bookstore. My older brother James followed in Dad's footsteps and became a teacher too, while my older sister Sophia stayed in our hometown to raise her family. My younger sister Amanda was the creative one, pursuing art and working at galleries for modest pay. I was the only one who left our hometown to chase bigger dreams. After graduating from MIT with a computer science degree, I moved to Seattle for a tech internship. The early years were tough. I shared a cramped apartment with 3 roommates, survived on ramen noodles, and worked 16-hour days to prove myself. Gradually, my dedication paid off. By 30, I had become a senior software engineer at one of the top tech firms with a salary that dwarfed what the rest of my family made combined. Still, I lived modestly in a comfortable but not luxurious condo, drove a practical car, and invested most of my earnings. I never flaunted my success when visiting home. I wore the same casual clothes, drove rental cars, rather than splurging on luxury options, and downplayed my achievements when relatives asked about work. This humility came naturally to me. I knew my siblings struggled financially at times, especially James, with 3 kids and a teacher's salary, and Sophia as a single mother after her divorce. I never wanted money to create distance between us. The tradition of our family vacations began 8 years ago when my parents celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary. Dad had always dreamed of seeing the Grand Canyon, but they could never afford such a trip while raising 4 kids. When they mentioned this over Sunday dinner during one of my visits home, an idea sparked in my mind. 2 weeks later, I called everyone with a surprise. I had arranged a week-long family trip to Arizona, including 3 days at the Grand Canyon, beautiful accommodations, and even a helicopter tour. When my parents protested about the cost, I assured them I had found great deals. In truth, I paid for 70% of everything, but told everyone we were splitting costs evenly. The joy on my father's face, as he stood at the canyon's edge, arm around my mother, made every penny worthwhile. That trip bonded us in a way we had not experienced since childhood. Away from work and daily stresses, we rediscovered each other as adults. We laughed until our sides hurt, recalling childhood memories, stayed up late, playing cards, and created new inside jokes. By the end of the week, everyone agreed this should become an annual tradition. As years passed, our destinations grew more ambitious. From a simple trip to Arizona, we graduated to the Florida Keys, then Yellowstone, New Orleans, and eventually international destinations like Cancun and Costa Rica. With each trip, expectations rose. What began as modest accommodations evolved into luxury resorts. Simple meals out transformed into fine dining experiences. Basic activities expanded to include private tours, spa treatments, and exclusive excursions. Throughout this evolution, one thing remained constant. My siblings and parents would complain about costs, while simultaneously pushing for more expensive options. I heard constant comments like James saying, "We should get the ocean view rooms. They are only a little more," or Sophia insisting we needed the private tour because the public ones were too crowded, or Amanda wanting to eat at the celebrity chef restaurant. because when would we have another chance? Each time, I would outwardly agree about the budget concerns, but privately arrange to cover the difference. I set up a special account just for family expenses, funneling a substantial portion of my bonuses into it. I convinced myself this was my way of showing love. I could afford it, and their happiness meant everything to me. Our parents had sacrificed so much for us growing up, and now I could give them experiences they never dreamed possible. My siblings worked hard in less lucrative careers, and I saw this as evening the scales that fortune had tipped in my favor. Our Hawaii trip this past summer was the most extravagant yet. We stayed at a five-star resort on Maui with stunning oceanfront rooms, a world-class spa, and 6 gourmet restaurants on property. Each family member had their wish list of activities: snorkeling at Molokini Crater, a sunrise tour of Haleakala, a traditional luau surf lessons, and a catamaran sunset dinner cruise. I secretly arranged and prepaid for all of it. The first 4 days were magical. Watching my family experience these joys filled me with purpose. My father, now in his 60s, beamed with childlike wonder as tropical fish surrounded him during our snorkeling trip. My mother finally relaxed completely, the constant worry lines on her forehead smoothing away as she enjoyed her first-ever professional massage. James and his wife took romantic walks on the beach, reconnecting away from their kids, who were having the time of their lives, with supervised resort activities. Sophia seemed years younger, laughing and trying new things without her usual caution. Amanda blossomed, soaking in the colors and culture with her artist soul. On the 5th day, I needed to handle an unexpected work crisis. While everyone went to the beach, I spent 3 hours on my laptop and phone in the hotel room, resolving a server issue that threatened a major client's launch. I worked efficiently, then headed downstairs for a quick drink at the outdoor bar before rejoining my family. I ordered a beer and was about to text everyone when I spotted them on the nearby terrace of our building. I decided to surprise them and walked along the garden path toward their voices, which carried clearly in the evening air. I stopped cold when I heard my name. My brother James was speaking. Look at our cash cow, too busy mooing at his computer to enjoy the vacation he is paying for. A round of laughter followed. My father chimed in next. Do not worry about Hilton. He never complains. The boy loves throwing money at us. Sophia, whom I had helped with my niece's private school tuition just months earlier, added, We should pick Bali for next year. Hilton will not mind. He makes enough to cover whatever we want. My little sister Amanda, who I thought was the most thoughtful of the bunch, giggled and said, He does not even realize we use his money for other things too. Remember when we told him the condo repairs cost twice what they actually did? More laughter. My mother shushed them half-heartedly. That is enough. But he is so busy with his important job, he probably does not even notice the money is gone. I stood frozen, unable to move as their words sank in like knives. Cash cow. That is how they saw me. Not as a brother or son who worked hard and shared his blessings. Not as Hilton the person, but as an ATM with legs who existed to fund their desires. In that moment, memories flooded back with painful clarity. James borrowing $10,000 for home renovations, then conveniently forgetting to repay me. Sophia asking me to be godfather to my niece, then immediately segueing into a conversation about private school tuition. My parents needing a new roof, somehow always when I got my annual bonus. Amanda seeking gallery representation fees that mysteriously increased every time. I had dismissed these as coincidences, believing we supported each other in different ways. I gave financial help, they offered emotional support, and kept our family bond strong. But as I stood there unnoticed in the growing darkness, the truth became painfully clear. The relationship was not reciprocal. I was being systematically exploited by the people I loved most in the world. Somehow I composed myself enough to retreat silently. Back in my room, I reviewed my bank statements and calculated that over 8 years, I had spent more than $120,000 on family vacations alone. Add in the other requests for help, and the total approached $200,000. The numbers made me physically ill. For the remaining days of our Hawaii trip, I maintained a facade of normalcy. I smiled through breakfast, laughed at the right moments during activities, and continued the charade that we all contributed equally to expenses. Inside, though, I was reevaluating every interaction, every request, every supposedly urgent need that required my financial intervention. I noticed things I had been blind to before: how conversations would strategically turn to money matters after several drinks loosened me up,